Today, yeah, we're going to bring it back to Germany and talk more about their legalization law and how it's panning out. German cannabis clubs can now officially begin applying to launch operations, the latest step in the rollout of the country's marijuana legalization law. While local officials began accepting applications for prospective marijuana co-ops on Monday, it may still be some time before members can start obtaining cannabis under the country's legalization law, with individual states free to set certain rules for the facilities. Sounds familiar. It became legal in Germany for adults to possess and cultivate marijuana for personal use in April, but there's been no means of legally obtaining cannabis otherwise. The social clubs, which can each have up to 500 members and sell up to 50 grams of marijuana per person each month, represent the latest iteration of the law. Cannabis social clubs are an important part of the fight against the black market, Carmen Veg, a lawmaker with the Social Democratic Party, said in a social media post on Monday, according to a translation. Even if you don't have a particularly green thumb, a CSC is certainly a good alternative. Green MP Kristen Kapper-Gonter called the social club portion of the legalization law taking effect another milestone of reason-guided policy, adding that it represents an elementary step towards curbing the black market. Advocates and stakeholders are still awaiting the government's plan for the second pillar of the law, but it's expected to provide for a broader commercial sales model. Last month, German lawmakers also approved a series of changes to the country's marijuana legalization law, imposing restrictions related to impaired driving and giving states more authority to set limits on cannabis cultivation within their borders. The amendments were a result of an earlier agreement between federal government and legislators that was made in order to avoid a months-long delay in the implementation of the law. One of the changes gives states greater flexibility to set restrictions on cultivation at co-ops that are now able to start dispensing cannabis to members. The regional governments will be able to impose limits on the size of the co-op's canopies. In Bavaria, for example, the health minister said that the state's policies will be as restrictive as possible, with clubs not expected to open until this fall at the earliest. A separate measure that federal lawmakers adopted last month sets a per se THC limit for impaired driving. The legislation, which has proved more controversial given a lack of scientific evidence supporting the efficacy of such policies, makes it so drivers would be considered impaired if they have more than 3.5 nanograms per milliliter of THC in their blood. The amendment also bans driving if a person has used both marijuana and alcohol, regardless of the amount. Meanwhile, Health Minister Karl Lauterbach, who has led the government's cannabis legalization efforts, told members of the Bundestag in December that we are currently examining the commercial sales plan as a part of the second pillar. But with legalization in effect, there has been increased pressure to expedite the process. There's more information that you can read the full article. Thanks to Kyle Yeager at Marijuana Moment for reporting on this. But yeah, so sounds similar to a lot of what we've experienced in the U.S. States have a lot of authority in determining how they want both the social club side and the commercial side to roll out. And we see some of the more conservative states like Bavaria delaying their implementation or making it more restrictive, which seems like they have taken a page from the U.S. legalization playbook, with the exception of having some federal approval there. But yeah, this is Sohum with High at 9 News. Let's kick it back to the team and see what everyone's thoughts are on this.
It sounds like they're getting
incremental.
Oh, go ahead, Dale.
Incremental steps are what we're seeing here. And as soon as the average person realizes that smoking weed isn't causing, society to fall apart, they start challenging these stories they've been given, the dogmas, the orthodoxies, and marijuana prohibition falls apart. That's what we're seeing all over the world. You're going to see conservatives. We have them here, Kevin Savett and Sam and other people like that. The average person in the United States looks at this and goes, come on. This is no worse than drinking alcohol. You do it responsibly. Why should you be throwing people in jail? I think Germany's moving towards that. And many other parts of Europe are also, because they've bought the stigmatizing language over the last century. And as soon as you put it in front of people that this really doesn't cause all those problems that they said it was going to cause, okay, now you can't justify the prohibition anymore. And we'll see this continue to move forward. It's going to be a slow process, but at least incrementally, they're moving towards not throwing people in jail for smoking weed.
Sounds like they're pulling people the fuck over. 3,000.
Three and a half nanograms is nothing. That's very. I mean, that makes me nervous having driven out there. Like, I'll probably wake up with more than that in my blood.
Right.
It'd be crazy though, man. Like,
why does that make you nervous?
Intoxicated on the Autobahn going 150. Like,
yeah, like you just don't stop.
Darwinism. I see that.
Great advice. Thank you, Jason.
Anytime. Sohum. Anytime. I mean, they let you drive fast out there, Sohum, so I just figure you could probably get away.
Do.
Yeah.
They can fast too, though.
Especially in Vienna.
I mean, even on some of the best highlight reels, you don't really see high speed chases that often in the EU.
Are you talking about velocity, or are you talking about mindset? Because every day in my mind, I'm part of a high speed chase.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Rico's constantly trying to chase himself, Rico.
Does that mean you're high and you're chasing a Pinot? What's going on?
Yeah, that's the
when you got a glizzy, you gotta chase yourself.
Oh, do you watch that glizzy down with the little Pinot? Is that what you're doing? A little Pinot and the glizzy? Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Did you have those photos, Millie? Let's we're gonna show these photos that you had referenced earlier.
Yeah.
Sohum.
So yeah, on the right of the screen where somebody has circled one of these buttons on the vending machine and said "extra chill," which I thought was hilarious. Thank you for that's their legacy market strain reviewer here. Putting their opinion on the machine. But this is actually in Vienna, just on a sidewalk on the outside of a tobacco store. So when it's closed, they have a cigarette machine, and then they have this, I don't know, CBD, CBN, hemp-derived cannabinoid machine. And then the picture on the left is the door to get into the smoking lounge after customs and immigration at Munich International Airport.
Was THCA a thing out there too?
Not as big in Germany. I saw some in Austria. That last picture on the right of the vending machine was it was in the town Zell am See where I was at for a family reunion. It's up in the Austrian Alps, and that's the e-kiosk I was describing, where it's an unmanned store. It's open 24/7. They got vending machines where you can buy snacks, water, beer, wine, whatever you want. And then in the corner, they had this vending machine with some flour and vapes and some edibles and stuff. And the reason I went in there is because they had a big weed leaf on emoji or whatever icon on the window, along with beverages and cigarettes and whatever else you could go in there and buy.
Sounds pretty woke to me, huh, Jason? There's no men in that store.
Well,
I love it.
I just have a couple real questions about this sign and this little area. So I'm assuming that because it specifies cannabis, that you could totally smoke hemp there.
No.
Why not? Yeah, you can. It doesn't distinctify it. It only says cannabis.
This ain't Texas.
I'll be
This
smoking
ain't
some
Farmville.
THCA in there all day. You know what I mean?
I encourage you to go to Munich and test this theory out, Jason.
When the
Germans, the only way to find out.
I have no problem doing this. I have no problem doing this.
When the Germans say, "Let me see your papers," they're not talking about your raws, okay? So
I don't smoke raws. I don't smoke raws.
German authorities have a history of persecuting white people too, Jason. Be careful.
I'm not too worried about all this that you guys are trying to gaslight me with all this fear and whatnot. I'm not buying into this.
Can we not use the word gas when we're talking about Germany?
And light up.
I know, Jason. Come on, man.
Just saying.
Too soon.
Oh God, you guys are overly sensitive today.
Sensitive like never mind.
Yep. I'll say it for you. Sensitive like a nipple tip.
Okay, I don't know about all these anatomical references, but I do have one follow-up question.
That's a Jason Beckism. That's a Jason Beckism.
Okay, well, there's a reason why I show up to this show with a shirt on. So anyway, the question for me is this vending machine. Well, I just don't want people to see my piercing. So the vending machine picture.
The belly button?
Oh, man.
Did you guys ever see 300 with that guy who had the big chain that went from his ear to his nose down? Yeah. So anyway, that's how I roll. So the question I have with these vending machines is, are they age restricted? So they're out on the street. Do you have to scan your ID? Can a 14-year-old, if nobody's watching,
they're age restricted. They're age restricted, which is I mean, one, I wasn't trying to get any hemp-derived cannabinoids, but even if I wanted to try it, I couldn't. And it's the same thing with their cigarette machines. For whatever reason, you have to use a Austrian or a German either debit card or ID. So like even when I tried using my card on there or my driver's license, I wasn't able to scan it. So like for example, when I was in that mountain town, I was trying to buy a pack of cigarettes out of a vending machine. And I kept trying. I went and finally took out cash because I was like, maybe it's just a cash-only machine. I had to go back and get the bartender from the bar that I was at. I was like, how do I use this machine? He was like, oh, you need like a local debit card, which is, you know, they have some age verification on there or like an ID. So he had to come and swipe his card, and then I was able to buy stuff out of the machine.
Interesting. Very, very interesting way of
very
utilizing.
efficient too,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm not mad at that concept.
I'd love to see somebody pissed off because their money got stuck in the machine, just start beating the hell out of that thing.
I mean, those things were solid. I don't think you could do that.
I mean,
people don't beat their machines in public in Germany. It's a pretty.
Wow.
Oh boy, you know.
I'm trying to get chill.
Man,
Yarrow,
To beat their Vienna sausage in public.
we're gonna roll right into our final commercial. We're gonna be right back.